Welcome back to the Ride and Laugh podcast. If you love mountain biking, you are in the right place. Picture your last group ride. You're back at the parking lot. The Stoke is high. Everyone's got new jump stories, new tech stories. You're feeling good. You're talking bikes. That's what we do here every week on the Ride and Laugh podcast. Let's drop in. Sage, how are you today?
Man, I am doing so good, Danny. It was such a great week. I can't wait to get into it. How are you doing, man?
I am doing well. I'm struggling a little bit with our weather here and the work-life balance. Very busy at work. I love my family. I love spending time with them, but busy at work, and then would like to be able to do a little bit more riding, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. And so, but we had a nice ride on Sunday. We were able to get out there, but before we do that, we want to get into some of our listener comments of the week.
Yes.
Unless there was something else that you wanted to talk about as far as how you were doing segment.
No.
Okay. You threw it back to me very quickly. So I know the how you're doing is going to go into your ride talk, and we're going to do a little segment on that. So let's get into the comments of the week on the podcast number 15, which was the mountain bike race primer. And then in parentheses, and why we don't race. So a couple guys talk about racing who don't race, but have raced, and really kind of listing some of the reasons that we think it would be beneficial and fun, and some of the reasons that we don't race, which is also interesting. And we got a lot of great feedback. There was 2 hot takes that Trail Sage put together. There was hot take 1 was the benefits of mountain bike racing, and hot take 2 was the downsides of racing your mountain bike, both with their own independent comments. And listener, again, I say it every week, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe and click that little notification bell, and you will get these hot take videos, and you'll get to see a lot of the video editing that Sage puts together, or you can just watch this on YouTube. But Sage does an awesome job cutting in all that video. So thank you, Trail Sage.
Yes.
So a lot of great comments, and we were, I would say, on both sides of the fence, of the racing fence. So the ones that I picked as far as highlighting was Shelly, who you'll be talking about later as one of the team leaders of the fire team. But she's an enduro racer, and she says that she finds that she progresses and pushes her limits in a race due to the competitiveness, due to the atmosphere, due to the crowd. Okay. And so she's a fairly cautious rider, but then in a race, I guess she's in the flow, and the adrenaline takes over, and she's riding over stuff that she would have normally skipped. So I hadn't really thought about racing as progression in that sense.
Yeah, actually, we talk about that a lot, though, Dan, about catching things in the flow of the ride. Yes. I can see that makes total sense to me. That you'd be feeling really good. It's a race scenario, so your adrenaline's up, and you're feeling really good. Man, it makes total sense to me. It absolutely does.
It's actually funny you mentioned that, because we talk about doing things in the flow of the ride, and I think over the past year or so, we've realized that if we stop to session something, if we just push our bikes back like an extra 100 yards and get a little bit of flow going first, even though it seems like you're far enough back. Anytime we stop to session something, I walk my bike back, and as I'm walking, I'm like, this is plenty far. And then I turn around, and it's like, oh, I'm like 4 bike lengths away. I'm actually really close to whatever we're trying to do. and we just realized that, back way up and ride your bike into it and get that flow going. So, what she's talking about is getting, really a supreme level of flow. She's obviously locking in on a race and getting into that really just baller mindset, and then just sending it. So I love it. And then we have at Casper von Schraui.
Okay.
Which I don't know what the name is. I love it. Anytime you got a Von in there, I think that's kick-ass. Yeah. But Kasperi von Schraui has been doing XC racing for 15 years. And he commented, I just realized that I'm not enjoying it anymore. Listening to the pod, he said every ride is a training ride. And so he's just not being able to, session a section or go back and ride something that was really fun, or even just kind of appreciate nature or just take it easy. And I wrote back to him. I said, look, that's your intuition. If you're not finding the joy in it anymore, that's your intuition telling you that this isn't right for you. And racing's not going anywhere. You can go back to it. But absolutely, you should be, if you're not getting the joy out of mountain biking, what are we doing this for? So sometimes we have all this other pressure, all these other voices in our head, and to race and train, you have to be pretty driven. And so you're ignoring a lot of that stuff. But sometimes you have to really wait. This is actually my intuition. This is actually really telling me something.
Yeah, he had mentioned, having limited time as well, which, man, that
changes things. Yeah,
it really does. It really does. Because, if you only have a certain amount of time, you have to devote that all to training or racing.
Right.
Ooh, yeah.
And and fun. I think fun first and foremost. We're not professionals. So if racing's fun for you, absolutely. And that's what Nikki Pinnett said. Great name. No better feeling than standing on the podium. So it doesn't usually happen. When it does, 110% worth it. And I haven't really been standing on any podiums, at least not in a really long time.
I was about to say the same thing.
So I can't say that wouldn't be worth it. That's pretty baller. I would think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Shout out Nikki. Nice.
Yeah. So racing, do it if it's fun. Do it if you're getting something out of it. Absolutely. But, we're here to ride bikes and have fun with it. So speaking of fun, we'll talk about our rides this past week. And I only had one ride, and it was Mount Penn again, and it was rain again. It was right after the rain. So I think it's 4 weeks in a row that it's rained on our weekend ride. And I'm grateful to be able to get out there and get to go work out and be with my buddies. So absolutely grateful that we have Mount Penn, that we can ride when it's relatively wet. You were on your single speed again. And which you've been riding almost primarily, and it was back-to-back days because you're going to talk about your Saturday ride. We're talking about our Sunday ride. But on Sunday, back-to-back rides, you were absolutely crushing it again and feeling good on that thing, man, and ready to do more. You could have done more. I think you're probably glad you didn't. But at the time, you were ready to do more. So tell us how you were feeling on Sunday, and tell us why you were also riding on Saturday.
Wow. Well, Sunday actually didn't start out that great for me. I actually pulled into the lot, and I think I told you, my back was feeling a little bit.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, man. So we did a nice warm up, and thankfully the back kind of adjusted itself, and that happens a lot with my lower back. Once I start pedaling, things start to feel better. And man, you're right. We had such a great ride. And, it gets hard to mix up the trails, but that mountain is pretty special. And we do a pretty good job of mixing up. We hit a couple things that we hadn't hit before, or you hit a trail backwards, and it just changes everything. And for me, being on the single speed, it definitely changes the trail. The things that I thought were easy become really challenging. And man, we just had such a great time. That mountain is so special. What stuck out to you on that ride?
Well, yeah, I agree. There's so many 4 weeks in a row of only riding the rocky trails, and somehow you're able to, because you're not leading 90% of that ride, and you're able to put together different routes where we're not hitting the same things, or at least not 2 weeks in a row. Maybe we hit it 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, but so it's just an awesome place, and a lot of challenging tech. It was surprisingly wet. I guess it had rained really right before we got there. But I wanted to ask you if you were mentioning your back, and I know that your back is a thing. Since I've known you, the back has flared up on occasion, and you have certain things like sleeping on the floor that really help it, and other idiosyncrasies. Cat's out of the bag. But how much are you attributing your back bothering you to riding the single speed so often, and especially riding it in tech? We're not riding flow trails. Like you're really on this hardtail, this hard to ride hardtail full time lately, and we've been riding a lot of difficult trails. So what do you think?
Yeah, I had thought that I had kind of spurred this back injury. It's not really an injury, but just spurred this because I'd played this really big basketball game. It was like 3 hours of pickup basketball. I started looking back at it, and I think it is the back-to-back single speed rides. I'm just not used to doing that. You know, back in the day, we used to ride it all the time. My body got used to it. I just jumped right into the single speeding and, you know, started doing these big rides. You know, it wasn't like let me work up to it. You know, I just didn't give my body a break. So I'm kind of paying for it right now. And that's fine. You know, I'm taking a little bit of time off, not doing anything, not even lifting. And we'll see how it goes. You know, I don't foresee it being the actual back issues that I have with the sciatica. I think this is just a muscle soreness type of issue. But hey, before we go too far, how about that one feature that this mountain is just so special. Every time we go, I feel like we find something new. And we had gone over to the Network, which is one of our favorite trail systems. It's got a bunch of rock rollers and drop options. And this trail, I think it's labeled a black, but you could make it a blue. You could even make it a double black if you like hit some of these drops and stuff like that. It's just a great trail. But at the bottom of it, you and I found another rock feature that I had never seen before. And you crushed it.
Yeah, that was an interesting line. I don't know if it was there and we just never saw it. I feel like someone just put it there, but it's definitely the type of feature where there's some big rocks and then someone just put some smaller rocks in front of the big rocks and said, there, now you can ride it.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were riding by and we're like, oh, wait, is that a line? And it looked janky. It didn't look like it was going to be safe. And getting off of it, you end up on kind of like this spine boulder that doesn't really go straight. And so getting off of it looked like it was going to be real challenging. I felt good going into it. So I rode it. I think the first time I hesitated, but I hadn't looked at it yet. And then the second time I just rode it and it went surprisingly smooth. It was the kind of thing I said to you. I was like, this isn't something we'll ride every time we pass here. And then after I did it, I was like, well, I think we could ride that. And then so you saw me do it and then you did it on the hardtail on the single speed, infinitely harder. And you made it look great also. That was cool.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things, Danny, where you were feeling really good that day and you towed me in. You know, you did it first. I was feeling really uncomfortable about it. I just kept looking at it and it just didn't look right. And I was like, I don't know. But I was excited to do it. But I was just like, And then I saw you do it. And then you were like, dude, you got this. It's in your wheelhouse. And man, I got to tell you, when I hear Danny say that, it's game time. It's game time. Yeah. And you were right, man. It took a trail that's typically just a transition piece for us and made it really, really fun. So thank you, Danny, for giving me the encouragement to do that.
Well, thank you, Mount Penn. And that's what it's all about. It's all about enthusiasm and encouragement. And, you know, there's not that much on those rides that we haven't done before. Yeah. A lot of the stuff is just hard anyway, but it's you know, but to be able to find something new and to be able to do something new adds to the Stoke of the ride for sure. And so that's pretty cool that you could find something like that. Absolutely. I wanted to ask, how much core workout do you do? Like, how strong do you think your core is? So when you say your back starts to hurt, I wonder if, like, I would think you would need a very strong core to ride a single speed over tech, or just in general. Like, I think you need to have a pretty strong core. So is that something that you work on when you do your weightlifting?
Yeah, I do a lot of plank works.
Do you?
Plank works. Yeah, plank work. I do a lot of like, I do a lot of core work. I think the issue with the back is more of how jostling the ride is. It's not about like the force, but it's really about that hardtail. Yeah, the impact and all of that stuff, you know. And, you know, if we were doing white clay, you know, which is a flow trail system around us, if we were doing something like white clay, I think I would be fine, even like French Creek. But Mount Penn, my. Yeah.
And it's just so much torque. It's just the climbing is just so much torque back and forth. So, and we've gotten so many comments. We've talked about single speeding so much. because we both love it, but you've really been, because your other bike broke, you've really been riding exclusively, and we're talking about like all the benefits of it, and like how great you've been riding, and also the benefits of the hardtail, and so excited to see what happens when you get back onto your full suspension bike or on any full suspension bike. I feel like this little period here is going to have leveled you up. Talk about finding the silver lining in difficult situations, and so we've gotten a bunch of comments on the YouTube and Ride and Laugh 1 at Gmail saying, I think I'm interested in getting a single speed. I'm going to be looking into getting a single speed, like, and and then you're like, well, my back's pretty messed up because of the single speed. So everyone's like, I'd like to cancel my order. Has this shipped yet? All right. Tell us about your single speed ride on Saturday, which looked like it was really special. And from what you told me was really awesome. So what happened on Saturday with the Trail Sage extravaganza?
Oh man, what a great experience. I got to ride with the FIRE group, which it stands for Females First Racing Enduro. And I had done one of these rides, I think 2 years in a row. And every time I do it, it's such an amazing experience. And so when Shelly reached out to me again and asked for a tour, it was absolute no-brainer. And I was like,
what are they asking for a tour of? Why reach out to Trail Sage?
Yeah, I think they're interested in the tech, and specifically the slow speed tech. They're getting.
I'm trying to walk you into this.
At Mount Penn? Where are we going here? Oh,
yes. You're the mayor of Mount Penn. They, especially Mount Penn Tech. They want a tour of tech. You gave them a tour of tech a couple of years ago. You know what? I'm just gonna do the interview. You can ask me as Trail Sage. I gave them a tour of tech a couple of years ago, and it went really well. And since then, because they saw some videos and they thought it looked really fun. And since then, they call me once a year, and we do it, and I give them a tour, and the group gets bigger and bigger. You want to take over now that I've laid down the groundwork? I think you should take over because I wasn't there.
No, you're right though. The group does get bigger and bigger. This year, I think we had like 20 riders, and my gosh, every time I do one of these things, I'm just so taken back, impressed, and just inspired, and it just, I'm having a rough go at it lately, and doing a ride like that just made me feel gratitude. It filled my heart with joy and happiness to see the struggle, but then the success, and then the Stoke. And it's like, whoa, this is what it's all about. So we started at the lake lot, which is the bottom lot.
It's kids all the way up to adults, right?
Yes. So I think we had, the youngest was like, I think 8th grade, something like that, 7th or 8th grade.
And then, but also some adult riders and ranging in experience, but riding really gnarly stuff at Mount Penn. I mean, these girls are shredders. Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And fearless, just absolutely fearless, which I'm so jealous of. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, just the mindset to just go and attack it, and it's like, and the best part, Dan, is they're so eager to learn. We ride with so many people, and, our brains are already filled with, what we like and how we ride, and this is what I do. And so oftentimes when I'm receiving instruction or I'm giving instruction, you're already thinking something else in your head. You're like, yeah, I got this. I know what I have to do.
I'm doing it right now. I'm not even paying attention.
Exactly.
All of our listeners are like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. I've been zoning out for the last 20 minutes since this thing started. All right. Tune back in. Come on, listener.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, these gals they're just so interested in soak. They're just sponges. And
it's awesome.
My God, you combine that sponge-like learning with this fearless attitude, and it's like, boom. I mean, we took them right to John's Rock, which you and I mean, we struggle. Yeah. We struggle on that. It's such a,
it's an intimidating
really
feature.
Line.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a tough one mentally. Yeah. There's 2 tough moves in there. I saw them on Instagram. I saw the girls sessioning them, and they were killing it. It was awesome. And I heard your encouragement. I could hear your encouragement a little bit before, when in the beginning of some of the videos and so what were the sort of things that you were saying that you felt compelled to be the best mountain bike coach at that moment? What was your approach?
You know, Danny, that's a really good question, because I did less about technique and more about mindset, because the way I think about it is most of the girls at this point know what good body position is. You know, most of them know what they're supposed to do. You know, and you know, of course I did give advice, and they asked me questions, you know, what gear should I be in, and, you know, how do I approach this? And I would answer those, but I really focused on the mindset.
They're on an enduro team. They're on an enduro team, and they're riding really tough places. I followed them on Instagram. These kids are absolutely, and women, they're just shredding, and they're riding tough places. So yeah, I think your point that they understand how to ride tough features, and a lot of the technique is pretty good. So anyway, so your approach, go ahead.
Yeah. So I would demonstrate, you know, the line, you know, and in John's Rock, we divided it up into two sections, because that line as a whole is just too much to take in. So we divided it up in 2 sections, but I would session it for them so they could see what that would look like on a single speed hardtail, which, you know, I'm like bouncing all over the place. I'm like, don't mind my skidding. But after I showed them the line, we had so many parents and adults that they were able to line either side of like this spine feature. And I kind of went up to the starting line, I guess, the starting gate, whatever. And I kind of talked to each one of the riders before they went off. I said, hey, you know, what are you thinking? What are you afraid of? You know, what are the things that you think are going to get you hung up? And I would just try to offer positive encouragement. And man, it was just so awesome. And the best part was, like, when they succeeded through the line, you just see everybody like whooping and hollering and clapping. And it was just like, you know, it's awesome. So great, man. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. It really is.
What an awesome experience for everybody involved, but for a kid that's getting coaching and going and doing something difficult and succeeding. You know, there's just so many lessons in that, but just awesome. This is just like, it's just such a great feeling and a great part of mountain biking. So it's really, really cool that you were part of it. I know I was hoping to go. I ended up having some family things I really needed to take care of. I really wanted to go this year because I love everything that they do. And so they're hoping to come back to Mount Penn, and I'm hoping to get there at that time. I really would love to be there. I should mention that our buddy Stick came up and was pretty much like a cameraman for you guys, and just like an all around, you know, just awesome dude like he is, helping out and also being involved in that. So thank you to Stick.
Yeah, huge props to Stick. Him being able to rely on Stick to kind of like take the lead at some spots, you know, so that I could focus on, you know, what I need to focus on, and holding the camera so that I didn't have to worry about that. That was really, really helpful. So thank you, Stick. That was awesome.
Yes, indeed. And so the fire team and the Stoke that you felt there for the kids and for the other riders and the parents, we kind of were inspired by that, I would say. And we thought, you know, what would be a really cool topic for a podcast is to talk about how to maximize the Stoke in each ride. Because this is something that you and I have like actively talked about. We actively make an effort at. And I think there's a few tips that you can just kind of throw out there. And it's about adding the Stoke, having the best ride. I mean, the getting the group's vibration higher makes the ride more fun. The ride being more fun adds more flow. You start hitting more progression. We talked earlier about me hitting something and feeling good about it, and then Sage not wanting to do it but feeling good about it because, you know, it was just the two of us, but the vibration was getting up there and the confidence was there. And so what can we do every ride, especially a group ride? I mean, you could do some of these things on your own. Certainly, we want to always be trying to reach for appreciation. But what can we do during a group ride? And so how do you maximize the Stoke on each ride? I would say picture us like getting into, what do we want to start? You want to start in the parking lot? You have the greeting is always enthusiastic, and and there's always compliments. I think you always just want to just find things to appreciate about your riding buddies, and then accept anything that they find to appreciate about you. So take the ego out, and you get to the parking lot, and we see each other. What's the first things that we start to say when we get out of the car?
It's usually like Paisan.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, the same thing happens on the phone. If you have a good friend, I mean, Sage and I have a whole bit that we do every time we talk, and it just instantly we're having more fun because we call each other Paisan or Paisano, or we pretend that Paisan is some sort of business. It could be a law firm. It could be a landscaping business. It's Paisan, 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 and Paisano. Paisan, Paisan, Paisan LLC. Paisan and Laugh. Ride and Paisan. I don't know. Paisan and Paisan? Paisan.
Hey.
But if I pick up my phone and I hear Paisan, that's okay. This is not going to be a serious conversation.
But you know what? To your point, Danny, it starts us off with a smile on our face, right? And yes. I think that's the point that you're making. Starting the ride right from the lot with a positive energy, you're laughing, you're having a great time, instead of like, oh, it's cold, or no, we're joking, we're having a good time with each other.
Absolutely.
And, that's the way to start it.
I'm a nickname guy. I call Sage Trail Sage. I call him Sagey. As Stick gets out of the car, I call him Sticknado. And just throwing a Sticknado. Nice shirt, dude. Looking good today. Bike looks styled. Just always compliment the bike looks cool. Oh man, you're shredding this thing lately.
Yes.
So yeah, find it something to compliment. And then someone gives you a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're so used to deflecting. We're so nice shirt. Oh, this little thing. Oh yeah, I got this on sale a couple of years ago. That's all right. Yeah. And same thing when we see people in the trails. Oh, what bike is that? That's cool. I used to have one of those. I remember we ran into a couple guys that I did used to have one of their old bikes, but he was shredding it. The guy with the 27.5 6 fatty, the old stump
6
jumper.
Fatty. Yeah.
But I was thoroughly impressed, and they were giving you and the other guy was riding a hardtail, and you one up them because you were on a single speed hardtail. So he was like, "Yeah, I got a hardtail." Oh, never mind. I'm not going to brag when I see what. But we were like, "Yo, that's awesome. You're riding that bike, and just why not? Just add to everybody's Stoke." So the enthusiastic greeting, the authentic compliments, and I'm guilty of this one. What about trying to avoid the preemptive excuse? What would you say the preemptive excuse is? You get out of the car and I play basketball for 3.5 hours. My back hurts, which is a good one. But we don't want to be one-upping each other with reasons we're not going to ride well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely right. And that does happen. I actually, we just talked about in the beginning of the pod. I came in, I was like, oh, Danny, my back,
Yeah.
And
that was a legitimate excuse.
I guess so. But I would say that another part of that is if you're riding with a big group. I mean, it's different when it's just you and I, but like if you're riding with a bigger group, now you're talking like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 riders, get a feeling for what the group is into. Maybe not everybody wants to do, a 7-foot drop in the first 10 minutes of the ride. Get a feel for, yo, Joe, what are you looking to do today? And if you are the ride leader, figure out how you can build a route that's going to maximize that Stoke. Like I know when I'm riding with you, you need a good warm up. If I jump right into the tech, I could actually put you in a bad mood because you might. Yeah, you might not be ready for that tech. And then that sets you off like a domino, for the other tech pieces. Like, I didn't do well in that first one, so I don't want to do this one. All right, well, as a ride leader, that's my job, to put together a route that makes sure everybody is feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, because the opposite is true. If I start hitting things and succeeding, so things that I don't need to be as warmed up for, or that are a good warm up, especially when it gets to when we start talking about doing features, And I mean, I feel it on my pump track. I go outside. I don't go full speed on the pump track right away. I got to do a bunch of laps to warm up. And then I start to be able to, okay, now I can let off the brake. Now I can try to hit this bank a little bit harder or try to get a little bit more air on this jump. But there's a warm up period. So yeah, certainly if you're leading a ride or if you're in a ride, just complimenting the people. Hey, that was a nice line. Right. Yes. That was, the guy in front of you. Hey, that was a really great line. Or you were killing it. You're awesome on that downhill. And you look really good. Your body position looks really good. So finding things to compliment and it'll come back to you. And it feels good when it comes back. When it's authentic and it comes back, it feels good. It adds to the Stoke. So, why not? Like let's encourage each other. And that's another thing is that it's finding that tribe, finding those riders that are in that same mind space that want to progress and also want you to have the best experience, that the whole group as a whole is going to have a good experience together and are encouraging. And sometimes that can be difficult to find. Who are your riding buddies? Be selective.
Yeah.
We could do a whole separate podcast on who your riding buddies are.
Yeah. It changes too, Danny. It changes. I mean, we've changed. We've changed as riders. We started as XC, and then we went to distance. When we were doing single speed rides, our rides were like 15 miles, 12 miles. Then we got geared bikes, and suddenly we were doing 50 miles, 60-mile mountain bike rides, and that was our thing. And then now we're doing shorter rides again, but now we're doing like progression rides where we're just, we're riding hard, we're sessioning, and we've picked up different people along the way. Our single speed group doesn't really ride with us anymore. The people that we're doing the long XC rides.
We found a way through all of our riding phases, we found a way to alienate everybody that we ride with. I would say first you have to ride a single speed. All right, I don't want to do that. Then you have to ride 50 miles. No, I don't want to do that. We had plenty of people that were like, oh yeah, I'd love to ride with you guys. And then they're like halfway through the ride, they're like, can I get me a call? Call me a taxi? I mean, can I get out of this thing, please? And we're like, okay, all right. You know what? We're going to dial it down on the miles, but we're going to do super high consequential, dangerous tech from now on. And some jumps and drops and, there will be trips to the hospital. So, at the end of all this, it's you and me. It's you and me.
That's right.
And Stick somehow jumped in here. God bless him. Because I don't remember him single speeding with us. He did do some of those longer rides back in the day, I think, once in a while. But he loves the tech, man. He's addicted to the tech and the progression, just like we are. So we definitely found one. But it is funny that we've had people kind of come and go. And
you know what? That reminds me, actually, to kind of go backwards a little bit. Before you even start the ride, the night before or the week before, if you have a bigger group, tell everybody what they're about to get into. You don't want to be surprised at the lot. We're doing 30 miles? I thought we were doing 10 miles, and that's not the way to start a ride. You want everybody on board. Everyone should know what they're about to get into. If I'm going to Mount Penn and someone says, hey, I'd like to join you, I'm always really clear about what's to be expected, hey, this is what we're doing. The climbs are really brutal. The tech is, intermediate or advanced because, and look, listen, I'll give those descriptions and you'll still run into people that, oh, that was the GoPro effect. I didn't realize, it was that big, but you do your best to try and describe the ride because at the end of the day, we all want to have fun. If one person's suffering, that brings down the whole group, So just clear, transparent. Yeah.
But we've had some people also that have asked for a tour who are phenomenal riders and have really enjoyed themselves and, better riders than us. Certainly we've had people join us many times. And it just adds to me. It's just like, when people are enthusiastic, it's so fun showing your home trails off. It's so fun. Like, let me show you this line. Let me show you this line. And it's really cool. And it adds, I think, to that enthusiasm and that Stoke, right?
Yes, yes. And ask questions. Like when we ride with people that are above our talent levels, you know, like Evan comes to mind, like right away. That dude is, oh my God, so talented. I mean, just ask questions. Yo, how did you do that? You know, how did you, how do you make this move or how do you tackle this rock? And that's the kind of positivity. And Evan's such a good dude. Like that dude will show awesome. You a line like 10 times, you know, and he doesn't mind. And we do the same. We do the same. When we took out Hunter and his friend Sawyer, we must have hit that skinny. We were there for like 30 minutes. We love it. We love it. We love watching people succeed and find that Stoke. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's something really special about mountain biking is that when you get a really good group dynamic like that. So while our weekly rides might be the two of us with Stick in there most of the time as much as we can get him, because as I explained last week, he's a busy dude. But we do have other riders come in and out, and you know, some want to do longer rides, some want to do shorter rides, some want to do more jumps, some want to do more tech. But for whatever we get them, you know, while we're riding together, it's really cool. It's absolutely cool. And so that's absolutely a really fun part of mountain biking. Keeping the vibes positive when you're your self-talk. Be aware of your self-talk. I got this, right? We say that all the time. I got this. I can do this. And so just be aware of that self-talk, especially if you don't start off well. But when you get into the lot, even when you get up in the morning and you're on your drive in, do you listen to music? Do you start to get locked in on a certain way, or do you just get out of the car and start riding? You're so intuitive. I don't know if you need to worry about getting locked in.
You know, Danny, it's really, this is going to sound so stupid. I usually listen to music, but the last couple times we've been meeting at Mount Penn, I've been listening to the podcast.
I know. As soon as you started to answer, I was like, oh, wait, I know what he's doing, because I hear my voice when you pull into the parking lot, and you're always so excited. I mean, talk about starting with enthusiasm. And then he plays it during the ride. We're listening, we're riding, we're listening to the podcast, we're getting tips from ourselves that we're putting to use right on the trail. It's incredible. Nobody's ever done this before. No, we're not listening on the ride. We don't listen to any music or podcasts on the ride.
Let me say this, Danny.
Yes.
I have been getting a lot back from the podcast. Like I sometimes it's just helpful to listen. We take for granted so many things, and like in some of the mountain bike skills podcasts we did. Yeah. I listened to that right before the ride, and it got me pumped. I was like, oh yeah, okay, got to get my head up, got to get myself into a good body position, you know, all this stuff. I think that really helped me when it came to the ride, because I was kind of like, it's kind of like your list. You know how you have that phone alarm and you have all the mountain bike tips? Yeah, listening to the podcast kind of did that for me.
I love it. I think that's really cool. Actually, I mean, having a few of the ones where we do talk about skills, and we mentioned that the one that we recorded last week that actually just came out today, though of course when you're listening to this, it's going to be a week later. But on body position, and I was out on my pump track after we recorded that, and then I listened to it because you edit it, and then we come up with ideas for what we're going to name it and all these sorts of things, creator stuff. And so I listened to it, and then the next morning I was out on my pump track, and I was thinking about all the tips that we had collectively talked about. And absolutely putting them to use, absolutely, and they were working, and it was like this is really cool. So listening to a podcast, whether it's ours or someone else's, though I do want to make an announcement that we are unofficially the best and fastest growing mountain bike podcast.
Hey.
For ages over 45 in Pennsylvania.
Niche it down.
If you're listening, we're the best and fastest growing. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. That's
all you need to know.
Said.
Yes. Yeah. But no, it's funny that you're listening to us on your drive up, but at the same time, like, I kind of get it, because we're talking about being stoked. We're talking about mountain biking. You're kind of putting yourself into the flow of the feeling that you want to get on the trail, because that's what we're doing on the podcast. We're talking about how much fun we have mountain biking. So it makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to, I'm going to listen to the podcast. I'm going to try that. But what I do now is I usually listen to, I listen to all this Sage knows me. I listen to like mindfulness stuff and meditation stuff and manifesting and, listener, you could probably tell that like I'm definitely into you're raising your vibration and creating your reality. And I say that anything's possible and that we're unlimited. And these are things that I've realized. This is true. I am speaking my truth that anything is possible. We are unlimited. We can become the best riders and people that we could imagine. So go for it. Yeah. And so I'll listen to something that's kind of inspirational to me like that gets me grounded. But I'll be thinking about the ride on the way up. Maybe I'll pick a tip or two and I'll just try to put that into my thoughts. So I'm trying to get into that headspace. Let us know on the comments, rideandlaugh1@gmail.com. How do you get into your headspace? And how do you get into and it could be before a race, it could be before a solo ride, it could be before a group ride. Let us know, what is your technique? Is it music? Is it podcast? Have you tried, has the Ride and Laugh podcast helped you with that? Or try it and let us know. Only if it helps you. Don't let us know if it didn't help you. I had the worst crash of my life. Well, don't listen to the episode Drunk on Confidence right before. No, though I was slaying it right before I fell. I'll tell you that.
You were.
I was feeling really good that ride. So you know what? There's probably some gems in there. So listen to it. But so we're getting into that headspace, and then you get to the parking lot and there's your friends. And now it's like, yo, bike looks great. I like that shirt. Are those new shoes? Let's go out. Let's have fun. Yeah. And so you're just and then during the ride, great line. Oh, you look good on that. You almost had it. Yo, you would have that next time. You're totally going to get that next time. I remember saying that to Tracy when she botched that line at Brandywine and then she saved it.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I was like, you totally have this next time. I just wanted to plant that seed for her because she does. She did. I could see it. I could see it happening for her. She could see it happening. So, just encourage. Be generous with compliments. I would say that if I was going to put a bullet point in there, be generous with compliments and be authentic with them.
Yeah. Let me add to that. Encouragement is so important. We talk about, visualization. We talk about self-belief and self-worth and all those things. But sometimes you do need a little extra push. You and I do that all the time. I'll turn around and I say, I got this, right, Danny? Sometimes you need that friend. And listen, I'm not saying, have some random strangers tell you that you can do something. I mean,
not everybody's got a Danny.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Or a Sage.
But if you've been riding with someone, encourage them in the right way. Don't push them, but give them the encouragement. Dude, you got this, like I've seen you. This is in your wheelhouse. That just, when you said that to me, when we're at that feature that we're talking about at the beginning of the pod, that feature, it looked crazy to me. In my head, I was like, no, I just, it doesn't look right. And then you were like, dude, there's nothing to it. You got this. You gave me a few tips. And I was off on my way. That's all I needed was just a little bit of a push to get through it, And
we've had that happen both direct. I mean, I've had that. I feel like that's happened more the other way, where you've done something and encouraged me to do it. But maybe it's even. Nobody's keeping count. Even. But it's definitely, if you're going to encourage someone, you want to do it authentically. So I wouldn't encourage someone to do something if they're relatively new to the ride or to my riding. And I don't know if they can do it. It's only so someone that I've just met, like it might just be like, hey, this is the way you do this. From what I've seen, I think you can get this, but it's totally up to you. But once you get to know your riding friends a little bit, then this is totally in your wheelhouse. You can get this. And especially these low consequence ones, like, hey, let's go for it and start to build that confidence. And, we see it with Stick. We see Stick's progressed so much since he started riding with us. Almost every Sunday, and he rides around things also. He's very, very smart about what he's doing intuitively. We talked about how tired he is sometimes, but then, he starts building his wins and, he starts progressing and we're so excited for him. And you just like you were so excited for the Fire Girls. We're so excited for for Sawyer or Hunter, who Hunter didn't need our encouragement, but just like awesome, you know, like, I mean, but just seeing him do that, like, we were effusive with our compliments. I said I wanted to adopt the kid, for Christ's sake. That was amazing. That was awesome. Like, you're really good at this. Keep doing this. You're really good at this. If you're having fun, keep doing this. So celebrate often. Fist bumps, high fives, hugs. You know, it's good. Life's good. We're here to have fun. So if you have a group of friends or a buddy that you can celebrate with, or a friend that you can celebrate with when you're riding well, that's great. If you don't, keep looking. Like, that's worth it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Surround yourself with people that are invested in you, you know, that want to see you succeed. You know, hanging out with someone that's just going to drain on your battery, you know, your life battery. Yeah. No one needs that. No one needs that.
They don't make you feel
energy.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Forget it. Get them out. Get them out. Yeah. I want to surround myself with people that love me, that care about me, that want to see me succeed. And that's what you get. You know, when you see these videos, you know, the Hans Ray video is the perfect example of this. You know, when we cleared that jump, everybody, and we're giving high fives, we're hugging. And I think I got like a few YouTube comments where people were like making fun of me for how excited I was with the hugging. That's exactly the type of person I don't want to ride with. You don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. I will not be hugging you. Yeah.
Right.
I want to be given hugs. You know, I love that feeling, you know, and everybody there was genuinely excited, you know, for you and I.
It's a great example, because those guys were just there. Like, they did it. They showed us like 3 times. It was no big deal for them, but it was a big deal for us. And they stuck around and just watched. And then when we started to clear it, just the cheering and the Stoke, and it was just like, it was all about that moment and just sharing that moment. In that case, it was our moment, but it was everyone's, you know, like that's what's so awesome about mountain biking. It's such a great sport. That's why one of the reasons that we're so passionate about it. Another thing that gets you so excited and raises that vibe is progression, is doing something new. And it could be something big like Hans Ray, which is a pretty big step down drop that had been in our heads for a long time. It could be something like a difficult log ride. It could just be like taking one of the tips from the Body Position podcast and just staying centered and just feeling that all ride and being like, yeah, I felt more confident this ride. You know, so even if you don't have an opportunity, if you're riding cross country and you know, you don't have the opportunity to do something that you feel like is going to be progression, you can still corner flat turns better. You can still stay centered better. You can still get low. You can still get high and change your altitude. You can still see over a technical feature. You know, some of the things that we've been talking about lately, and just locking in those techniques feels good. So you're still doing something new, because you're improving.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you clarified that, because I don't want people to think that this podcast is just about drops and huge jumps and blah, blah, blah. Maybe your Hans Ray is a climb that you haven't been able to clear yet, you know? And if you're with people, cheer them on. And when they get to the top, you know, no, that was awesome. Or you're going to get this next time. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a drop or jump. It could be a climb. It could be it could be this one segment that you've been trying to get. You just wanted to go hard at it, you know, and you get it, you know, you PR it or whatever. I mean, celebrate. That's what it's all about.
If you're riding and you're with a new group, you can turn around and be like, that's the first time I got that climb. You're like, yeah, they should be excited for you. They should be celebrating it, you know? And I've seen, how many times have you almost gotten a climb? You almost got that big climb out on the single speed, right? And I was like, dude, you almost had that. Like, that was so close. Yeah. Like, because getting it that far was impressive. I think it comes down to this, is that we want to find things to be enthusiastic about. We want to look for things to be enthusiastic about. We want to look for things to be stoked about. And then when you're looking for them, you will find them. And then they will come back to you. And same thing in life. You want to look for things to appreciate. You want to look for things to be excited about. You want to look for things to be enthusiastic about. You want to look for things that are going right for you. When you're on the trail, I'm really good at this. I got this, like three tough things in a row, or 3 climbs in a row, where I just nailed those corners super well. You know, I'm really good at this. And so you're looking for things to be enthusiastic about. And those things, you will find those things. And that's what it's about, is living in that place of joy when you feel good because you're enthusiastic and because you're stoked. And then we share that, and it just and we're humans are just so, we have our vibration. We're so interesting, that we can just, when someone's got a high vibration or a low vibration, when someone walks in a room and lights up a room versus when someone walks in a room and it's like, like there's reality to that. So be the light, and you get that for yourself and the people around you, and then you take that into life. And so instead of saying nice bike or nice cool bike shoes, find something to appreciate in your spouse or your roommate or your kids. Like, hey, I like that shirt. That your hair looks really cool today. Just whatever it is, looking for things to appreciate and just making people feel a little bit better. Like, see what happens. See what happens when you do that with life. And, of course, riding. Yeah. That's good. There's magic in there.
Yes. I love it, man. I love it.
Well, unless you have any other things to raise the incredibly high stoke that we are achieving on our mountain bike rides, we can get into our mountain bike gratitudes of the week. What were you thinking?
Yeah, man, I had something completely different planned, but after this talk, I am so grateful for our group, and the people that surround us. This conversation just got me totally jazzed up and amped up, and that's how I feel when I ride with my friends. They get me jazzed up and amped up. And when I go out riding with my friends, I instantly feel better. And man, with all the stuff that I'm going through, big gratitude. So thank you to all of my riding buddies. You guys and gals have just meant the world to me. So thank you.
All right. Well, that's a good one. And anytime I think about mountain bike gratitude, when I think about what I want to do for the week, when I think about my mountain bike gratitude, I always go through like, okay, well, Sage and Steck and the ride, and like these kind of just like always there gratitudes. So I totally get that. Like we could pull that any week of just like, I appreciate my friends so much, and it's never inappropriate. You could say that one every week, and it's always true, and it's always worthwhile. And sometimes you're riding by yourself, and it's just like, I appreciate my own vibration. I appreciate my own, being able to be stoked. But there's nothing like riding with a group. It's really, especially the right group. And it's worthwhile finding. If you're riding with people that don't bring you up, then keep looking. We're in parking lots. We've met most of our mountain bike friends in a parking lot, like or on the trail. And we talked about Strava, like connecting people, like see who else is riding in your area and get tours from people. And cool people are cool with cool people. So I like that one. Mine is nowhere near as grounded, but with all the rain that we've been getting, I was just thinking about the weather apps. I'm on these things. If you're a mountain biker, especially in the Northeast, or really anywhere but the desert, I guess, and maybe even in the desert because you're looking to see how hot it is.
Hey,
I'm just constantly on my weather app. I'm looking at the hourly weather. I'm looking at the forecast. What days can I ride? Maybe I'll take a day off of work. What's the weekend look like? Where are we going to ride? And I'm just always looking at the weather app. I don't even know which one I use. Weather Underground, I think it is. It has a really good hourly.
Okay.
Where you can look hour to hour. But I just, it's just such a cool thing to be able to, the night before or the morning of, what kind of gear do I need to pack? What kind of ride should I expect? Where should we ride? And I appreciate that. It's something that I would totally take for granted. And with all the rain we've been getting, it just kind of popped in my head like, I'm really glad that we have these weather apps that they're pretty accurate. They're pretty accurate. I mean, the weatherman's, it is what it is. And, but I do appreciate that. And so I threw that in as my mountain bike gratitude of the week. Thank you to the weather apps.
Okay. All right. Well, since you went to preparedness, I will turn my mountain bike tip toward that and say that my mountain bike tip for this week is prepare all your stuff the night before. And so we're talking about, things to start your ride off good, right? And the one thing you don't want is to wake up in the morning and you're rushed. I got to grab my hydration and then I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling. And I used to do that all the time. And I think it was your idea. You were like, I think you had said to me like, well, you should just prepare the night before. And ever since then, I get my hydrate. If I'm going to bring a bladder, I prepare that all the night before. I get the bottles ready to go with the light show so that when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel rushed. I make my coffee. I sit down, maybe listen to the podcast. I don't know,
At half speed. Really absorb it.
Yeah, really let it sink in. And then I'm just cruising. I'm not speeding. I'm cruising to the trailhead. And you get to the yes, man. And you get there, you're just not stressed out. You're there, you get there a little early. On your face.
You got more time to hang out in the parking lot.
Yes.
Walk over to your buddy, give him a hug, see how everything's going.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So prepare everything the night before or wake up super early and do it in the morning, but don't rush yourself.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fantastic tip. I think that goes great with life also, is just kind of be prepared. And sometimes we can't. But when it comes to mountain biking, like we're talking about, like, doing everything you can to ferment this like beautiful headspace so that you can have the best ride that you can possibly have that day. And that's part of it. Being ready and not being rushed.
Yes. And,
like for me, I don't drink coffee every day anymore, but getting my coffee Sunday morning, getting my coffee ready and sipping on my coffee and having a drive up where I don't need to speed. I don't need to worry about getting there late. And then getting into the lot and just being able to take my time and get ready. Yeah, it's absolutely going to add to a peaceful state of mind and a good ride. So that's a excellent tip, as always.
Hey,
you can only get this stuff at Ride and Laugh. We didn't ask for many comments, but so I'm going to throw it out there, and hopefully everyone that listens it just knows, like, please get the comments going.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think about. Our tips to add Stoke to a ride, our tips to maximize Stoke. Do you have other tips to maximize Stoke? Did we miss anything? Did we get anything wrong? And how have you implemented any of these? Which of these have really resonated for you? And then also, what's your pre-ride routine? Is there something that locks you into that really good headspace? So YouTube comments are perfect. RideandLaugh1@gmail.com if you want to reach out to us that way. We appreciate it. Anything else that I missed, Sage, before I start closing it down?
Nah, man. I think we said it all. It was perfect.
Yeah. I really love the stuff that we talk about. I look forward to listening to it on the way to a future ride.
Hey.
If you're still listening, you are definitely one of us. You love riding bikes. You love talking about bikes. You love mountain biking. Please rate and subscribe on your podcast player. Please rate and subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell. All that good stuff. Tell your friends about us. Help the algorithm. We appreciate it. We're having a great time talking about bikes. We appreciate everyone commenting and listening. We love you. Ride and laugh.
I'll see you, everyone.